Welcome back. This is The Transition, and I'm Rashad McCants. Picking up where we last left off. This is episode 4. Today we'll be talking about swimming. Yes, swimming. What does that mean? Well, if you've been following the last 3 episodes, you understand we've went through identity. We've went through breaking. And we went through sinking. And now we must identify with swimming. Why is swimming so important? Why is it an element? Why is it needed? Well, let's talk about the transition. Let's talk about the transformation, and let's talk about the transcendence. There's a big leap from a great mountain into a vast ocean that must occur. Are you ready for it? Let's play it again. I'm going to say it a little bit slower. There is a big leap from a great mountain into a vast ocean that must occur. The big leap. Transition. Taking the courage. Making the decision to take the leap. Transformation. Getting to the top of the mountain in order to make the big leap. The vast ocean. What is waiting for you? Once you enter in transcendence, you get to dive into the water. Now, what happens when you enter the water has everything to do with what you prepared for thus far. Because if you ain't prepared, you ain't gonna be able to swim. And that's what you're gonna need to do once you get down there. Once you enter into that water, you can't act like there's nothing in there. That's dangerous. You got to know how to swim to get around, right? But the purpose is a big leap from a great mountain into a vast ocean. We talking about consciousness. We're talking about enlightenment, ascension. We're talking about just a change in perspective. It won't hurt to look at another perspective. It won't hurt to change your perception on how things are being seen from you and others. There's nothing wrong with trying something new. So you always have to ask yourself, what do you want from life? People ask themselves, what do they want out of life? I'm asking you what you want from life, because that's going to dictate where you are, where you're going, where you've been, who you are, right? When you answer the questions, what do you want from life? A lot of times people give you these materialistic answers, things they want, desires. Very, very, very few times will you hear about longer life, health, peace, balance, joy, benevolence. These are things with longevity that when you ask for them, they come in abundance. We don't ever ask for these things. We want big cars, big houses, big bank accounts. We want wealth. It's always a materialistic answer. But we must first transition into love from hate, transform into truth from lies, and we must transcend into the light from the dark. Because you want these answers. What do you want from life? You're gonna need you want what you want. You just got to understand that there's a process and a method to answering those questions and getting those questions answered from the Most High. Because he heard you the first time. But you keep asking for shit. He don't know what you want now. He ain't even gave you the first thing you asked for. Because you still running around like you don't deserve it. It ain't that he don't think you deserve it, it's that you don't think you deserve it. You keep changing your goal, you keep changing your path, but you not changing who you are. Transition. Let's transition from this. Look around you. What's going on? What's going on? People stuck in the mud, in that quicksand. They can't transition from wherever they were to where they need to be in order to be where they have to be in order to get to the next spot. There's levels to this shit, especially inside of our society. You see that there's classes, low class, middle class, high class. What do you think they put that hierarchy in place for? So you can always strive for something. It ain't black people, white people, Mexicans. You put yourself in the class, but how hard you willing to get the fuck out of that hole? How hard are you willing to get up to the top to where they are? Because it seems like either they're cheating. You guys want to say all these, yeah, they're cheating, they're privileged, they're this, man. Listen, figure it out. It's not racism, it's a race. We're in a race. We need representation in our race. Who's representing us in the race? We're last place in the race. We used to win the race. Now we're losing the race because we don't have any leadership. We all have to transition from being the victim to being the leader. We're stuck in the mud, quicksand. Pow, go. We're looking around. And this comes to the point of swimming. If you don't know how to swim, you're going to drown. What's coming? Let's just say the flood is coming and you ain't transitioned from who you are now to a swimmer. I'm giving you the hint. You got to know how to swim. So you want to be a YouTuber, you want to be this, but you don't want to learn how to swim. So when the flood comes, you can't be looking around for people to save you. You got the message. You just didn't transition. Get the message. I transitioned into a swimmer, and then I transformed into a swimmer. Then I transcended into a fish, whale, or a shark. I don't even think about it no more. I'm in the water. This is the place I'm supposed to be. So when I get out the water, it's just like it's easy. I can walk on land and I can swim underwater. My transitions are seamless because I'm prepared. Get it? We never really want health and happiness, right? We want riches and fame. And people seem to think that riches keep you healthy and fame keep you happy. But when you can't swim, everything looks dim. And what the swimming is the preparation for any calamities, any roadblocks, anything that may derail you or distract you from the real path of enlightenment, of transcendence. So being able to swim is being able to persevere, to be able to recognize when you're drowning, when things are pulling you down, when people are in your way trying to make you mad and push your buttons. You know this is you drowning. Someone's trying to pull you under the water. And the only way you get to free yourself is because you have muscle memory to swim. That takes practice. That takes awareness. Takes discipline. You gotta want this shit. You gotta want it. The transition is finally deciding what you really want from life and then going in that direction. All the answers become very logical. You can balance it. And when that happens, you go from in the transition in the 3D world, leaving the ego behind, transforming into the 4D world where your consciousness rises up and you start to see the world bigger than what it is. Then you transcend into the fifth dimension where everything dissolves around you and you create whatever it is that you see fit for your reality. Easily pushing things in and out without having any emotional ties to it. And this is where we all kind of have our flaws because we have some type of emotional attachment to everything. And that is where we sink and then drown because we refuse to let go. We can talk about it. Let's talk about it. I'm just going to preach to y'all. I want you to have a real dialogue. We're not going to debate. We want to have real dialogue about how this fits into everyday life, not just spiritually, not just holistically, not just business wise or financially, everything. Y'all see what's going on in the world? The world is going to shit right in front of our faces. And if you don't transition from the place you in right now to survival mode, you're not going to last when the flood comes. Some of y'all don't know how to make a fire. How you going to transition? Some of y'all can't even sleep outside. How you going to transition? There's a lot of people who don't have much and have no idea that it could be a whole lot worse when you're forced to do things you don't know how to do. Whew. I don't know how to fish without a fishing pole. I don't know how to make a tent. But we're here to wake up those people who do have some type of idea how to survive, how to transition and want to transform. Personally, I've seen a whole different transformation, even with my body. After I've transitioned into a whole nother mentality that I was forced into. And then I dropped that resistance. I felt like I was forced into it. I dropped it. I let go. Said, you know what? If this how it's gonna be, this is gonna be the story then. So it was no longer a forced, it was no longer forced on me. I welcomed it. And that made the message easier to relay. This is what I'm supposed to do. There's no one else in position that can get this done like me. 144,000 gonna understand what this transition entails. And those outside of that 144,000 will be prepared for the next phase. Everybody wants something out of society. Nobody want to give something to society. Takers, consumers. Where are the producers, the manufacturers? We need more of those creators because they are consuming the wrong products. That rotten apple is the same thing that's been distributed over and over and over again. Vanity, jealousy, envy, gluttony, lust. It goes on and on. You can't transition when you got these resenting emotions with every single trigger. And then you want to get out of that situation. You don't know how to swim to the surface because you're drowning in your sorrows. Trauma. We call it mental health now, anxiety. But this is the prime example of the leech, the leeches, and the leecher. Mike Tyson once said, I love the leeches. I hated them, but I loved them because they sucked my blood, but I loved it when they did that. It made me feel good. And if you know anything about the leeches, they clean up the bad shit that's in your body. But they also suck the blood out of you. And sometimes you need leeches because you're in that much pain and you just, yeah, doesn't matter. But at some point, they got to drop the leeches off because they get kind of heavy. They eating real good off you. And at some point, once you release the leeches, you start feeling yourself float to the surface. You start kicking them legs that couldn't move before. You start seeing those arms move. They ain't moved in a while. That's monkey off your back. You can backstroke now. Oh man, you're out there like Michael Phelps now. Feeling like a dolphin. Think about it. You're on an island when you decide to go through this process. When you start the transition, you on an island. This is Castaway. Tom Hanks and Wilson. You got to figure out how to get off the island because you just transitioned from someone in society to not someone into society. Everybody think you were living and not everybody thinks you're dead. So when you transform on that island and become someone completely different for survival, when you transcend and they find you, they not gonna recognize you. Ooh, the shit you've been through. Wilson. Ooh, y'all don't know y'all don't know nothing about Wilson. What? One of the greatest movies ever. You want to talk about something that can cure anxiety? That in the life of Pi, prime examples of transition, transformation, transcendence. No excuses. And this is a kid and a grown man. Kid was on a boat with a damn tiger and a monkey. Come on. He can do it. Oh, but we talking about a movie though, right? Let's make it more realistic. There's a movie called Dinner with Andre, where Andre is discussing the prison that people create for themselves. I'm gonna quote this real quick. Has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing, created by a world of totalitarian government based on money? And that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks. And it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no. He continues saying they've built their own prison. So they exist in a state of schizophrenia where they're both the guards and the prisoners. And as a result, they have no longer, having been lobotomized, the capacity to leave the prison they've made or even to see it as a prison. These are the people who are on the island who have not truly circled the island, found out what was on the island, where the island could be, how to get off the island. They just accepted that, oh, I'm on an island, now my boat's crashed, and I'm going to be here forever. Just might as well make the best of it. Mm-mm. Not Tom, not Pi, and not Andre. He gets it. You can't create this world inside your mind where you don't have any benefits and someone's continually taking something from you. That's not how the world works. That's not how the universe works. That's how society works. And you participate willingly because you don't think there's anything else to do. When you can focus on yourself, your transition, you got to be a student of society. You got to start seeing how this shit really works out here. It's different. And once you start studying the world, the society, and what it takes to maneuver inside of that, you'll see these 3 points: transition, transformation, transcendence. Even if you had to sneak your way in, you got to transition from the guy who knows everything to the guy who don't know anything at all. He's got to pretend just to get in. There's still a transition. There's always going to be one. And then when you do transition, you're going to have to transform into what it is, the space that you decide to take on. You're going to have to transform into that person. And in order to be successful, you're going to have to then transcend and become the talent that you say you are. Transcend, prove it. You said you can walk on water. Let me see. You got this far. See, when you go into this process, you can't fake it. We're going to know by the time you get to transcendence, you faking. Because we're going to ask you to walk on water while we're out in the water. Come on out here and talk to us if you can make it. Big leap, great mountain, vast ocean. Hmm. Are we going to talk about it or not? We going to talk about it or not? because we swimming today. We got to get out the water today. We're not supposed to be in there till our fingers are all pruny. We're not supposed to be in the water that long. But it's always refreshing to take a little deep dive every now and again when you know how to swim. Don't jump your ass in that water you can't swim. You gonna drown. And everybody wants to take the same approach to think that they could just jump into the water without learning how to swim. From artists to players, business, I just think you could just dive into crypto and figure it all out. I'm gonna just go out here and get a trainer and start shooting hoops. I'm gonna become an NBA guy. I've been watching movies all my life. I know I can be like Denzel. Do you know how to swim though? Do you know how to persevere? Do you know how to overcome? That's swimming. When they tell you, no, 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 you're not good enough. What you gonna do? You think they lying to you? Something you ain't doing right? Now, granted, all music is not supposed to be liked by all people, but when you enter into an industry, you best believe there are requirements that you can't roll past because you think you hot shit. Mm-mm. You got the same requirements Bruno had. You got the same requirements Michael Jackson had. They didn't skip over it. How the hell is you? There's a process to becoming a recording artist. There's a process to becoming a litigation lawyer. There's a process to becoming a professional NBA basketball player. And ultimately, it comes back down to transitioning from a kid to a man, transforming from a kid to a man, and transcending from a kid to a man. It's real simple, man. But we need to open up the dialogue because we got too many topics in between here that other people could chime in on, perspectives, because everyone's going through a transition. Everybody's got a story. But I'm guaranteeing you through every one of these stories that these people done stopped halfway through. And they still going through the three T's. Because there's always something to distract you, to detract you, to push you off your path. And you find yourself saying, I did, but I ain't finished yet. I'm still going. It's hard. It's difficult. That's that discipline. That's that swimming. Think about when you're swimming, you get tired. You ain't in the kiddie pool. You can't just stand up in the water and your legs are heavy and your arms are heavy. What you gonna do? You gotta know how to tread water, right? But then sometimes everybody just kind of stop and they go back down to sinking. Then they drowning in their sorrows. You don't die when you drown in this element. You don't die. You just stay in agony and you become this disease, dis-ease. Your body and your mind is at dis-ease. And everybody you touch will become at dis-ease as well. Because you decided, I don't really want to swim right now. I don't really want to have accountability right now. I don't want to push through. I don't want to motivate other people. Well, I know that there's 144,000 of them that do. That can't wait to transition, transform, and transcend. Just the sound of it, it makes too much sense. I transitioned from a Kia to a Benz, and then I transformed from a Smith's grocery bagger to a bodybuilder. Then I transcended from a non believer to the leader of all faith. Testimony, experience, wisdom, knowledge. You got to give back. We got to teach our people to swim. Stop being so emotional. Stop worrying about who's next to you in the next lane swimming. Get that baggage off of you. Get those weights off your arms. That's what you need to be worrying about. Why you got so much weight on you? Why when they push that gun, pow, you still there? Talking about you supposed to win. We in a race. You want to call it a race war? It's a race war. You're losing the race. It's not about the fight. It's about who comes in first, second, and third. And you can't come into any place 1, 2, and 3 if you ain't transitioned from 1, 2, and 3. Transition, transform, transcend. Hussein Bolt. Transition, transform to a beast, and transcend into legacy. Don't have to run another day in my life. I showed you who I am. Why can't we do that? That's what the race is all about. Anything else is hate. You're a hater. Don't hate them. Don't hate them. They racing. Stop looking over there. Where about you and your team? You and your team are hurting you and your team. That's why you're losing the race. Stop pointing over there. It ain't them. It ain't them. They know how to swim. Let's talk about it. This is the transition. And I'm Rashad McCants. Until next time.